And one of the guys was like, this is really interesting conversation. And I bet most people aren't having these kind of conversations. I goes, yeah, we should start a podcast.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Just to talk and let people hear the other side of the world, because, you know, we're in the top 1% of 1%. And if you're a business owner, you're like 10% of the nation, right? Or 20% of the nation that gets to call their own shot. So it's a very small, select group of people. And I think more people want to be that type of person.
Exactly.
They just don't know how, or they've never even been exposed to that conversation. So I said that, and then 3 weeks later, I was like, I think it's you let that shit fester a little bit. I'm like, I think that's a good idea. So I reached back out to those guys. I'm like, let's do it. Nobody followed up. None of those. And they're still my buddies to this day. But I think the idea of it's work. It takes time. You got to put effort into it. You can't just, you got to find people. You got to have good, all that stuff. And then I found Hassan, and I'm like, well, fuck it, I'm just going to do it then. Let's see if I can find enough interesting people that are in that 10%, 20% that people want to hear from.
Right.
And it's been good. I mean, social media gets measured by hits and views and viral or not viral. And I measure it because every once in a while someone will say, oh, I saw that video. And I get that now once a week or so. Not a ton, but every once in a while someone will say, and even sometimes it's my own family, like a sister-in-law. She'll go, I saw that one video with the doctor, and it really helped me think that differently.
Right.
Okay, that's all that matters. One person got it, good enough. Someone else will get it next week. And if it grows into something, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't,
I mean, I feel like as long as you're adding value, that's the goal. Like, add value, and if it's valuable to you, you're putting it out there. It's information you feel's needed to be shared, and you share it. You never know, man. It could be 2 years down the road, one of those videos just all of a sudden catches fire because people see the value in it.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. You put it out there, you put it in front of the people, and then they decide.
Well, I could tell you run your business the same way. And
Yeah.
I've even seen some clips where you were talking about, all I'm trying to do is bring entertainment and value to a space that's also congested, right? Especially in Scottsdale, Phoenix. And I think that's what sets you apart, is you understand that value concept. If I bring that, even if I don't think it paid for itself to do that go the extra mile, maybe that one event maybe didn't pay for itself, but I got 3 more events because of that.
Right.
Like you got that concept.
That's all it is. And, and it grows, and it's the same. It's always the same concept in business when you're dealing with sales and things like that, is that you put it in front of your client, you bring them, or you put it in front of the prospective clients, so just the population in general. They respond to it, and if they respond to it, then you have to deliver. If you get a booking, then you have to deliver no matter what. And that's my main goal, and I think what sets me apart is that I don't care what your party is. I'm not going to come and say, you know what, I think you should do. You know what I mean? I don't say those words. I'm like, okay, you want a dragon blowing fire? We'll do it. You know what I mean?
Let's
it's
go.
Like, it's whatever. My opinion of what is cool and what is a bougie or what is needed to take place to make this party great comes from the culinary side. But I kind of like to let my clients decide how they want me to perform that. And I know a lot of people come in, and it's a chef trait, and it's a business trait, is that I know what's right.
This is what I do.
Yeah, this is what I do. I know what's right. I cook for Michael Jordan or somebody, and like, I know what this, and it's like, but this isn't that person. This is a totally different person, and they're from a different state, and what they think is culinary, in their culinary interest, what they're looking for, or what they're thinking in a theme or in a vibe, is totally different than the last person, or totally different than what I would necessarily think. So that's what I do, is I just focus on delivering, executing, and giving my clients the best possible whatever it is that they want that I can possibly do.
It comes through too. I mean, you could see that. Chef Will Turner, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's rewind a little bit. You came from South Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was cooking always in your blood. Like, what made you make this decision to branch out and do your thing?
Cooking's been in my blood. It was my family can cook. My uncles are barbecue master type guys. The guys that make collard greens and stuff at family gatherings. Being in the South, we did like similar to a potluck once a month at my grandma's house. and it would just bring all the family, all the kids, grandkids, and we would just feast on a fourth Sunday at Easter. Think Easter dinner every month.
Every month.
So I grew up with my grandma cooking in the kitchen, my mom, my aunts, my uncles doing the grilling, my granddaddy. And that's really where being around good food makes you want good food. And it makes you appreciate it. And that's where that first spark came from, was my family. And then just summer job in a restaurant, to get some extra pocket change, turned into this career. It wasn't something that, when I was 10, 12, I wasn't like, I want to be a chef. I was just the guy that's putting like weird toppings on my dollar pizza and didn't realize that was probably a sign, So I went from that restaurant. I was really good at it. I was in the kitchen. I was very fast learner when it comes to like things. I was comfortable with all the foods. I knew a lot about the food because of my expanded exposure to different types of food. So I was, it just came natural, man.
What's the craziest thing you ever put on a pizza? You said you were putting crazy toppings on a pizza.
Oh, well, when I was like...
No, not to this day now. What's the craziest thing you ever put on a pizza?
I've put calamari on a pizza. I've put, what else? I've put caviar on a pizza.
Nice.
I've put some, I don't know.
What's the best thing you've ever put on a pizza? What do you like the most?
Man, I'm old school. I like pepperoni,
Some
man.
pepperoni.
Give me a slice of pepperoni that's super greasy.
Yeah.
Make it with
New York style,
provolone cheese. I just gave away a trick, but that shredded provolone, man, it melts different and it just hits different. And give me that and the New York style pepperonis.
Yeah, that thin crust.
Yeah.
Fold it over.
Yep. And then I just try not to ruin my clothes. That's my guilty pleasure when it comes to pizza. Yeah.
So you worked at a restaurant. You started off. Cut that. Edit it.
The pizza's here.
Close the door. All right. Look,
Siri.
You worked at a restaurant and as an employee. So right. So what's when you said I read something that you sent to me that you said I chose to bet on myself.
Yeah.
That doesn't just happen to most people. So what was it? What was the defining?
That was a long process to really get to that point. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, we were raised in a different way. I think now kids are like, I'll start a business. We were like, we have to go to work and train and learn and maybe one day start a business, but I need to do these steps first. So when I first started, that one restaurant led to another restaurant, led to a management position, led to me really getting serious about cooking. I apprenticed under two really good chefs back in South Carolina, Ernest Bledsoe, Chad Marshall. They both taught me so much about culinary, about food management, about everything. And I took that, became an executive chef from a sous chef, and then that was probably mid-2000s. So I was pretty much executive chef the last 15 years or so of my career. But I was in South Carolina. I was burnt out. I was working 85 hours a week. I was making good money, but like I was just pissing it away. It was that chef lifestyle, that real chef lifestyle that is out there that the chefs know about.
What is that? Tell me about that for those that don't know what that is.
So you working, 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. You're sitting at the bar 2 or 3 hours. You're barely getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep. You're eating like ham sandwiches and drinking whatever's on tap, whatever's at the bar. And, you lived at where you probably hadn't seen anybody unassociated with a restaurant in weeks, and it's just over and over and over. You don't really get days off.
Those
burning the candle at both
like
ends.
Your family, those folks?
Yeah, it definitely becomes a family because you're around them more than I've ever been around my family, even when we were kids and we lived together, because you're there, and you're there through trying times, like rushes and when things go wrong and when things go great. So it builds a bond between the coworkers, and that's something that really exists. It's something I miss about being in the kitchen, and being in that kind of situation is I'm now the owner. You know what I mean? Now I'm the boss, and you get looked at. It's a whole different interaction and stuff than being the executive chef even or sous chef compared to being the owner, So it's like
your dad.
You lose that camaraderie in some ways, but I got a great staff. But long story short, I took that education that I got. I became executive chef. I was burnt out, and on a whim, I decided to go to Wyoming and take a 50% pay cut and work just in a random kitchen out in Yellowstone. And
that was just to get away from
that was just like
the crazy.
I didn't know what else to do really. And somebody was on Facebook and posted pictures of Yellowstone, and I was like, that looks amazing. I want to go. So I had a few drinks. I Googled jobs in Yellowstone. The first thing that popped up, they hired me. I sent my resume. They hired me. I went in and said, I'm leaving. And that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And I haven't been back since into that executive chef role. It was the best decision I ever made. It got me to the point that I could bet on myself, because I went out and I traveled through like 6 or 7 states. So I did Wyoming, Montana, Cody, Wyoming, at the East Gate of Yellowstone, Red Lodge, Montana. I did Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I went down for a year and a half, worked in New Orleans as a executive banquet chef, came back out and did Creed, Colorado, which has the nation's largest repertoire theater. Exposed me a little bit to the acting and stuff like that. I met some of the actors. Their lifestyle was super cool. Anyway, I was doing that, and I was like, you know what? This road thing, 5 years had passed. And I was like, being on the road is starting to get old too. I came to Scottsdale just really not knowing what was next. Everybody out on the trails, anywhere, were saying, go to Scottsdale. You'll love it. Everybody I met, it was like, go to Scottsdale. And that's kind of like the universe pushing me that way. So I had a little time, and I was like, I want to go to Scottsdale, just get a new scenery and see what's going on. I came here, and in 3 days I fell in love with it. And I was like, I'm starting my private chef business, and that was how it happened.
So you came here with no job.
Yeah, no job. I had a couple of $1,000s that I had saved up from the season. And I was like, kind of like, should I go do another job? Should I go to like Alaska and do a 6 months there or something? I didn't know what was next. And I knew I didn't really want to keep doing that. I'd kind of gotten my full, and it kind of ran its course. Awesome time, so many experiences that you don't, waking up with bison in your yard and things like that are just ridiculous. So it was like the people I met, the experiences, because even though I wanted to take a step back, as soon as I walk into a restaurant, it's like, you're the manager. You know what I mean? Like 5 minutes in, they're just like, here's all our paperwork. Please help us, God. And like, that's how it was. So it's like, I was still running restaurants, but the pressure wasn't as much there. And one thing about a lot of the jobs that I was working on the road is they made you take 2 days in a row off, because they knew you were in a remote location and they didn't want you to burn out, because they needed you to stay for the 4 months or whatever your contract was. So there was a work-life balance, and that was huge, allowed me to succeed in that. But again, I was like, I'm living out of some suitcases, basically. I want to like kind of find something new. Came to Scottsdale. I was at the Scottsdale Quarter about 10 minutes, and I was like, I'm starting my private chef business, which I had been exposed to at one of my previous jobs, because I was a sous chef on a private resort island. So think the Phoenician if it was an island. And I was the sous chef, and they would private chef me out. So this is probably 15 years ago. They would send me to people that lived on the island. I would go cook, but I was under them. So I would just go cook. We really catered, and then kind of brought it, and I really might like just sear a steak or something, and that would be it. But it was my first, I was like, oh, this is a good idea. So that was always in the back of my mind. But what was needed to make that happen really didn't exist back then, because we didn't have the phone with all the technology where we could just really run a business off of our phone. 12, 13 years ago, it wasn't that easy. So once I was here, I was like, wait, this is something that I could do now. So I built my first website myself. I did everything that needed to be done online to get my business out there. It was a terrible website. 8 o'clock next morning, I booked my first client.
Wow. And a couple grand, right? You said. So that's enough.
I had a couple of grand. I probably spent $200 on starting my business.
Really?
Yeah.
$200 and probably a grind.
Yeah, and a grind. So I wasn't even driving. I was living out in these remote locations, so I didn't even have to have a car. You really didn't want to have a car, because then you were the guy that had to drive 3 hours to town twice a week every time anybody needed alcohol or food or whatever. So, so I came here. I was like, well, I'm starting it, and I use Lyft, and I was pulling up to like $5 million houses and Lyft cars at the gate. They were having to buzz them in at the gate to come pick me up. After I did the party, I did that. That didn't last long. About a month, I went and bought a car, but it was humble beginnings. One of the first things I did was I took a bus from my buddy's house down to Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. I got out and I walked up Scottsdale Boulevard with my business cards that I had got off Vistaprint for like $18. You know what I mean? I got like 100 or something. I passed them all out. And I booked like 3 clients.
Really? Guerrilla marketing.
One of them was, and like you were saying earlier, it's all about the next and what's next. So one of the clients was Optima, which is a huge builder and developer. They build awesome buildings all in Chicago and in Scottsdale. Awesome company. Anyway, they hired me to be their chef for all their stuff, like just for me walking in. She was like, if you're going to walk in this, 100 degrees outside and you're walking, passing out business cards, we're going to give you a shot. And I ended up being their chef up until, COVID.
Wow.
They kind of stopped doing the big gatherings as much as they used to. But, man, we would go up there to Desert Mountain and cook 4 or 5 days while they had did all their, meetings and stuff. And that was like just from me walking into a place and handing them my business card.
That's hard for a lot of people to do. So you talked about your journey, which definitely cemented your ability to walk into any situation and be a top level chef. So that part you had for a long time. But the secondary part of now I have to go grind in a different fashion, which is going up and offering my services to people that may not want it. Before, every time I offered my services, it was because someone asked for me to do that and I was in a location to get that done.
Right.
But now I got to go out and pound the streets. Did you feel any uneasiness to that aspect of starting a business? No. That all just kind of flowed through because you knew what your goal. Why was that?
So interacting with people in general is not hard for me. And one of the main reasons why is because when I was 16 years old, I had a job working drive-through at McDonald's. And that will take any of those, the pride and all of that, it'll take it away real quick. And when you're interacting with so many people, plus I worked front of the house some during my restaurant journey. I was a manager, so I had to cover for the bar. I had to cover up front. So I had to be able to serve tables. I wasn't great at it, trust me, but my place was in the back of the house, but I understood it and I knew how to. I was really good at 2 minutes. So I was the guy who, if you're ever out, at Mastro's or at one of these fine dining restaurants, the guy that comes over and just is like, hey guys, everything, and then I'd say a joke or two and then I would go to the next table. I wasn't a great server, but I feel like that, and I feel like it's in my nature. My family, my grandfathers were into public, so it was just being
Natural.
from the South kind of thing. I feel like that if I got something to say and I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to do it.
Well, so you just described all the experiences you had that gave you that confidence, the McDonald's and the front of house things. And earlier talked about kids nowadays that say, I'm just going to start a business. How crucial do you think I'm going to say old school with quotes, I guess, old school way of that path to business entrepreneurship? How crucial is that path versus I'm going to skip all of that and I'm just going to go do what my passion is? You hear that a lot. I mean, I have kids that are millennials and whatever the next generation after that is. And they're searching for their passion, right? But that passion isn't that's not enough. You found your passion early on, but do you think if you'd have gone right into your passion on your own solo trying to do something that you'd have been where you are today versus taking the road you took?
No, I would. There's no way I personally could have done it. I can't speak for everybody else and what their skill sets are and how they can handle certain situations. Me, I wouldn't walk into somebody's house and try to cook their dinner if I didn't have at least 5 years of experience. That's just me. Like, I would not have done that because I have enough respect for my clients to not risk their anniversary dinner over me trying to make a couple of $1,000s. You know what I mean? And feed my ego. So that's the difference with me. Like, somebody could say, Will, we're going to pay you $1 million to paint something on that wall. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, dog. I'm not the guy for that. I'm not going to paint anything on your wall. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that would say, sure. And they would go over there and paint something. And whether it looked good or not, they wouldn't care. And there's so many different businesses out there. From it's all good until it's the pilot. You know what I mean? Like chasing his passion, who watched 2 YouTube videos and decided he was going to fly the plane. You know what I mean? If it's cooking is a serious thing because when I'm cooking on people's best days. I'm cooking on their anniversaries, their bachelorettes, their weddings, their birthdays. I don't want to mess up those days. That's my nightmare, is that if something was to go wrong, it's my fault that ruined their day. So, and
when it's your gig, they're looking forward to seeing you.
Right.
I mean, when you're showing up,
they're happy. They're always happy to see the chef walk in, especially if it's me coming in and we're all happy and I got my staff and we're ready just to have fun. It's a great thing. And I come in with a different type of ability because of the 25 years in restaurants. And, not just restaurants. We were catering. We were doing all types of stuff. But I catered 300 weddings in New Orleans that were over 250 people, each one of them. You know what I mean? So it's like doing a 15-person dinner is nothing to me. I go in and I don't have no fear and no panic and nothing like that because I've seen so much of what could happen, what I plan for all that. You know what I mean? I got contingencies planned. I got people floating around that can go grab something if I need it. Like, I have backup plans for backup plans because I know things can go wrong. I can walk into a house tomorrow and their stove could be broke. I could walk and we still have to cook. It's not like my anniversary will just get pushed off. No, people flew into town for this. Like, this is going to happen. So, me personally, I feel like if you got a passion, I always tell people this, your passion doesn't necessarily have to be what you make money at. You know what I mean? For me, I traded my passion for food for money. So I lost some of my passion for food. And I know a lot of chefs are like, oh, I just love food so much and all that. And that's cool. When you've broken down as many chickens and ribs and fish as I have, you don't look at it the same. Like, it's just a matter of fact. I've been doing it since I was 15 years old. So I traded some of that. So if you have a real strong passion, you might need to think about, do you want to lose that passion? If you're a painter, a singer, Whitney Houston loved to sing. You know what I mean? And then it's the same thing that destroyed her at the end because she traded her passion for singing, and then it became her, the same thing that you love is the same thing that'll bound you, So it's like,
turned your passion into a product.
Right. You turn your passion and yourself into a product. And it's kind of what I've done. But I try to balance that line, but I also did it at a point in my life where I could make an actual informed decision of whether it was worth it or not, because I had some age on me and I had some life experiences to where I was like, okay, this is cool. I enjoyed it for a long time. I feel like if you just coming straight out the gate, you love food, and you start a business that's food oriented at 20, and you're like baking or whatever, and you look around, next thing you know, you got like speed racks all in your house and they're in your bathroom, and you can't, you might have made a mistake, so it's like, just got to be careful. I always like to tell people, get a job that's making good money. Start a business in something that may not be your passion. Maybe your passion is food and you love to cook. Well, maybe start a business that's writing cookbooks, or that's something that's not necessarily involving you to lose your passion. It can be around it without being the actual passion. That way you still have a passion to do that's going to make you happy, that's going to be something that you can enjoy, pass time with, share with family and friends. I hate to say it, but when my family and friends come into town and they're like, "Will, cook for us," and I'm like, really? Like, do I have to? Now, if I wasn't doing 10 parties a week, I would be planning it. So you just got to think about how much you're involved in your business and how much, because there's a lot of ways to make money. So I don't like to tell people that my way is the only way and my approach is the only approach to a business, and that you have to have X amount of years in a kitchen or X amount of years in the business to be successful, because truly you could probably be able to cook 5 things, put it on a menu and sell it in the right place. Does that mean you should? I don't know. That's not my decision to make.
Also, would that get you on the trajectory you're on? So you had to go from pounding the streets for the very first client to hundreds and thousands of clients now over the last few years. And you don't get that, right? Unless you deliver not just 5 things, but you deliver quality every time.
Right.
Is that how you went from one client to thousands and spots on TV and interviews?
I over-deliver. I under-promise, over-deliver. I try to provide more than culinary, more than the food. It's a fun experience. We're having fun. My clients are like family, for real, and we stay in touch. A lot of my clients, East Coast, West Coast, I've cooked for people from all over the world, and I'll still get DMs or something, like, sure, I'm missing that creme brulee or something like that. How you doing, chef? I heard your mom's sick or something, and like, I still get those DMs from people that I cooked for 4 or 5 years ago. I got a client, Miss Hope, who is up in Troon. I cook for everything they do. and I don't have family here, so I went and ate Thanksgiving dinner with them. So it's like, and they cooked for me, which was a treat and something different. But like, that's how I view my clients, is like, I'm cooking for family. I give them the same principle as I give whenever I was at my grandma's house and I was 10 years old and we were eating a Sunday dinner. That's how I approach it. And I feel like that's what really, the food's obviously good. I'm a skilled chef. I can cook very well, but I'm not out here reinventing the wheel neither. I'm not trying to make something new, some new food dish. I feel like it's all been done. So it's like, we're just really mix and matching. So I just try to focus on, what do you want? You want a good steak? I'm gonna give you the best steak ever. You want sea bass casino? I'm gonna do the best you've ever had. I'm gonna execute this dish to the point that it's the best flavor, texture, contrast, temperature, those things, appearance that I could possibly do. And then we're gonna have a great time while I'm doing it. And then the other side of it is the experience gives me those confidence to do that. So I'm not in the kitchen thinking like, oh man, is that going to turn out okay? Oh my God. And then they come up and they're like, chef, here's our puppy. And then I'm like all nervous because I don't know if the souffle is going to turn out. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's going to turn out, so I can do all this other stuff, film. It frees me up to do all these films. I do 99% of all my social media I do myself and all my videos. So it's like, the confidence that I know that chicken's not going to burn up while I'm taking this video is something that a lot of the chefs and a lot of the people don't have, because they don't have that experience.
They didn't spend 20 years on the battlefield.
Right. Now, where that ends up, I don't know, because you could always, there's other ways to approach it. I would say, like, somebody has to know what's going on.
Yeah.
That's on the team. So there's some ways you could approach it, but I feel like it's the confidence factor, and then I feel like that it's also the people skills.
And you definitely bring the people skills. So one of your niches is bachelorette parties. Yep. So if you go on your Instagram, what is it? Tell me your Instagram.
At Chef Will Turner.
At Chef Will Turner. You go there, you're going to see an awful lot of bachelorette parties in the Valley, this is probably the number 1 or number 2 place in the country to hold them, right? So you found a good niche. How did you stumble into that? Was that purposeful, or how did that come about?
I had no idea. Whenever I started this, I was at the quarter. I saw quite a few Bentleys roll through in a matter of 3 minutes, and a Bugatti and all this other stuff. And I was like, this is where I want to start my private chef business. I had no idea that it was a bachelorette up and coming spot. And really, they contacted me. I had a bachelorette party contact. They wanted me to cook for them. I cooked for one. We had a great time. Those pictures. So I focused on the marketing. I was like, look, and this is giving away a little bit of my sauce, but I don't really mind. I don't focus on the food so much in my marketing. I give a little taste of it every now and then, but people copy that so much. So I don't really focus on that. What I do is I focus on what we're doing and how we're having fun.
The event.
And I let the client be the star. This is the client's video. I'm just in it. You know what I mean? And I focus on the laughing, all of that. So I did a video, and it got traction, and then I got another bachelorette. Before I knew it, I had 4 or 5 of them booked. And from there, what really changed my trajectory was, first day I booked my first party. 5 weeks later, I was cooking on television because a marketing company reached out. They saw one of my videos and reached out. And then I'd say within 3 months, I had been on TV 10 times. And I was plugging the bachelorette thing. I was like, all the bachelorette parties come on, and I started plugging them.
So you knew then that was a route you wanted to.
Right, I knew that was a good niche to get into. So, and I started plugging it, you know how it works. Magazines started reaching out, newspapers started reaching out, publicists started reaching out, and next thing I know, I was doing all these interviews and stuff, and every time I would stress the fact. Bachelorette parties, and it helped create this whole. I wrote down about 50 businesses about a week after my second bachelorette party, and out of that 50 businesses, I think I've started 3, and all 50 have been started since by other people because I didn't have the manpower to do it. But I saw what was happening. I was like, we need cabana boys, we need this, we need decorations, we need this. Like, I just went down the list, but me being from out of state, I didn't have the big network here. So it was like, I know we need that. And I even blew up some balloons one time, only once. But, I was like, let me try this. And then, and that's just how it happened. It kind of like it snowballed. So then as different people started jumping on the train and they started adding their flavor and their spice to it, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger because it was all about us pulling them here. And then obviously the Airbnb situation here was excellent. Mm-hmm. It's still pretty good, but not everywhere in the country can 20 people go and rent a beautiful home with a swimming pool that's located in a nice area that they can have this kind of party situation. That's just not the situation.
Round.
Right, and it's not in the weather. All these things played a factor, and we were just sitting over here beating the drum, bachelorettes, and once they come out here and they seen it, they fell in love with it.
So now you're outsourcing those other 47 companies you didn't start. You have connections in the Valley, so you bring that with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, we all kind of do our own thing. It's a lot of, some of us are closer than others, but it's there's enough going on that everybody can be happy and gets a piece. And I really never wanted, my goal is different. I never really wanted to do all that. You know what I mean? I like my life. Because, again, I don't want to be the 80, 90 hours a week guy. I want to be 40 hours a week and be able to travel and see my mom and go to Hawaii and go to these places that I want to go to, live my life and not be consumed by it. Because I am a little bit older. If I was 25, that's where that could have been a strength probably, because I would have had a little more gas in the tank. But it's a balance. It's like which one was more important. I don't think I had the knowledge then. Now I think I have a different value perspective of what I want in life, and it's not necessarily to be like Jeff Bezos or somebody.
It's a healthy balance.
Yeah, I just want to be able to enjoy my parties, enjoy what I do, and then spread the love with all the people that I can. And I try to do that with a lot of the chefs. Last year I sent 1,500 private dinners to other chefs that I couldn't do because I was so busy.
Wow.
And I did about 300 myself.
Wow.
So I sent a ton away.
And every one of those, at least from the face of it, if I'm looking from the outside in, is a party. How do you juice yourself up each time? I mean, does you ever go, obviously you go to a door and you gotta pull something from down in because you can't have a good day every day.
I try to have a good day every day, and I try to look for positive stuff, and I try, we live in a beautiful state. We got a lot of beautiful people around here. I got a good team. I got a great team. I got Laura, handles all the stuff from the back end. She's behind the scenes, so I don't have to really concentrate as much on booking parties and things like that. I got my serving staff, and they know if I'm tired. When I'm tired, they come up. You know what I mean? They meet me. They come up and they carry me. There's been times they've carried me through parties. So I've done 4 in one day in this kind of heat, and like that fourth one isn't as live as that first one for sure. But like they carry me, and I got my little things that I always do. That's gonna little tricks to the trade that I always do. I like to always pop a bottle. I like to always do a few things that lets these people know that I love the fact that they're celebrating with me, and that's really what it comes to.
Do you typically pierce your ear when someone asks you to do it?
Yes, I did that.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I don't handle peer pressure very well.
By the way, I don't think this was at a bachelorette party.
It was a bachelorette party.
Really? Okay.
And they were all like 70 and 80 years old.
Well, and cheers to them.
Yeah, and the groom was actually there. He was hanging out in his bedroom the whole time. But they were awesome ladies. It's hilarious. These ladies were on par with my wildest bachelorette parties that I've ever done. I give it to them 110% because as soon as I walked in the door, they were piercing ears. And I looked over and there was a big bottle of Fireball. And one of my servers looked at me and she was like, Fireball? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, that might have been here already or whatever. And the ladies are like, come here, chef. You don't have an ear pierce. She was like, you need your ear pierce. She's like, I'll give you a shot of Fireball. And they were over there. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then my staff was like, come on, chef. It would look so good and all this. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it. So the ladies, they were, I made their day, man. They loved that. And I was like, you know what? If it makes them happy, it is what it is.
I mean, that's the extra mile.
Yeah.
That's a fucking extra mile,
hey,
dude.
It's whatever, whatever I got to do to make my clients happy and us to have a good time, I'm going to do it. If it's in reason, the earring didn't survive.
Okay.
I forgot it was even on me, and I went to pull a shirt off and I ripped it real bad. And I was like, oh yeah, that's out.
What's next? Maybe tattoo?
Yeah, I'll probably do a tattoo. Maybe get a client's name on my arm or their home state flag or something. I don't know. Like, you know,
Right on the left ass cheek.
they can tattoo me if I can tattoo my brand on them. Then
There you go.
We'll trade it out like that.
I love it.
We're doing the food war now. That's fun. So like some of the bachelorettes are gonna jump onto that.
Tell me about that.
It's something different. Is where I'm doing very artistic, like burlesque type shoots
Like
for the
sushi off the back.
Yep, sushi off the back. We try to go desserts and things like that. But yeah, I teamed up with a awesome photographer there in Mesa, and we're gonna try to offer it and just see if I've had a very good feedback since my first post last week. That a lot of girls are really wanting to jump onto it. It's something different. It's like that new thing, man. It's like I had this idea. I was like, you know, I just wanted this artsy pic with like my hand decorating it with everything else black. So my photographer made it come to life, and Sonia over in Mesa, and she made it come to life. So we posted it, and then the feedback was crazy. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to actually offer this now. You know, it's going to be something we can add as a package or something, and you know, it'd be something different. And we were thinking about a couple of ways that we can really make it special and just make it something that the girls can really hang on to and have for a long time.
Have you got one booked?
We got a couple.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait to see how those turn out.
It's going to be really cool, man.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to go, I don't want to give away too much, but we're going to go a couple of different ways with it. So it's going to be fun. And it's just all about having good, wholesome fun, you know.
You're doing so much. Do you ever get to a point where you think, I've plateaued, or I've hit the ceiling, or the revenue stays the same for several months and I got to break through that? If you get to that point, do you get to that point? Have you in your business? And if you do, what do you do to get through and to just go to that next level?
You know, I'm notorious for having too many irons in the fire. And if I get to that point, it's usually around July to 15th when it's 110 degrees, and I get to that point with the curating the menus and the food and getting everything. That's the part that burns me out sometimes. But as for like finances, they're where I want them to be. I'm constantly busy, and then I try to, just like this food war thing, it's an idea that I have, so it gives me something to do, and if it hits, it hits, and if it don't, it don't. And then I'm a creator. You know, I'm a creator in the old school sense. Is that, like, y'all remember that guy who would be in the back of the class, or girl, and they would be drawing in a book, and then you would look over the peak and they'd shut it, and then you'd be like, what are you drawing? And they'd be like, nah, man, it ain't nothing. And you never see what it was.
Yeah.
Because a real artist don't care if anybody else ever sees it. It's all about getting it out of their head. And that's all it is. They're sketching this stuff out because it's in their head and they want to get it out. A song, same way. You know, you get a little lyric and things, and you just like, man, I'd just love to hear this. Mm-hmm. You might play it for yourself. Some people really care if it gets out to the public and goes viral or whatever.
Get some affirmation.
Yeah, but a lot of true artists don't really need that feedback. They do it for themselves. And I'm kind of that way, where I'll have an idea, and, you know, just like with this food war thing, is if I don't make $1 million off of it, so what? I guarantee I'll see a lot of people doing it in the future, and then I'll know that I started that. And it'll just give me that little sense of satisfaction that people liked what I was thinking and liked this idea I had so much that they copied it. You know what I mean?
And just like an artist, you've probably got 300-400 ideas in your head to follow this one.
Right. And then I got 300 or 400 restaurant concepts, and I got 300 or 400 menu items, and I got, you know, all these video angles and all these video shoots and things that I think about with the reels. Like, I think about so many, it's constant. It's like, it's the hamster's always spinning the wheel, and for me, a lot of the satisfaction is just getting it out and just seeing it. Even if it's a sketch or if I can make it happen. And, you know, some of them I get more passionate about when I see them, and some of them I'm like, it was a good idea, but it's just not going to be it, you know. And
it's a lot like the songwriter, where you write 300 songs and you go, these first couple were good, the others ones I had to just get out. How do you slow the hamster down, or like make it get off the wheel for a second? Or do you feel like you need to?
I travel, and sometimes I need to. You know, it's in getting it out. So getting an idea out gives me that sense of I did at least one
And
of
when
the
you say
1,000.
get it out, are you talking about I got to tell someone and then have them hold me accountable to taking a step towards that idea? How do you get it out?
Well, it just depends. Each idea is different within itself and has a different manifestation process. So if it's a concept that I'm thinking about with culinarily speaking, where I have a new sauce I'm thinking about, or I'm thinking about trying this new plating technique or whatever, I can do that at home. I don't even really have to do that. I can go to my, I do have a kitchen. I can go and just cook things at the kitchen or whatever and maybe take some pictures of it, and that's enough. If it's a business idea or something that takes a little more process to it, that takes a team to do, like where I need a photographer, we'll set up a shoot. We'll shoot it. Some stuff we shoot don't make it, and but we'll see it and we'll say, yeah, I did it, and it's not what I wanted, and maybe this is not going to work, and then I'm satisfied that one. So that one that buys me a little while, and then I'll just, and I never know where the inspiration comes from, because it could come from a word you say, it could come from something on social media, it come from
some interaction maybe.
Looking at nature, and I feel like that's where a lot of stuff come from, is people just sitting around looking at nature. Like all the stuff we've built with first, it all came from somebody watching something roll down a hill and thinking, oh, they're rolling down a hill. If I could do this with that, I could use that force. This would roll down too. And it's just like these ideas, whether they're complex or just real simple. And if I can entertain a few of them, and I have time to do that, then it kind of recharges me a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lost a friend.
Mm-hmm.
What's your coping mechanism like for that? Do you put that through your work? Do you grind harder that next week or two to take your mind off of it, or do you want to go travel and be calm?
It's multiple ways I handle it. One is and I've lost multiple friends, unfortunately, but they're in everything I do. Everything I do, I'm doing it for them too. And that's the way I look at it, is because they're not here. They don't have the opportunity to do some of these things I'm doing. I lost my friend Ross Wyatt, who was out here. He was on my team, and I knew him from South Carolina. We just happened to meet up out here, and he was on my team and worked with me, and some things happened and he's no longer with us, and it's like he's a part of what I do every day. And my buddies that I lost so younger, they motivated me to start this business. They motivate me whenever I'm thinking about, I don't feel like doing that today. I don't want to go do this or whatever. It's like I hear their voice saying, no, you're going to go do it. My father lost him too. I hear his voice saying, nope, because he was one that would never let me rest on my laurels and be complacent or think like that I can take a side pass or something like that. He's like, no, you're going to outwork. This is what you're going to do. So I hear his voice constantly. And it's like some of my friends' kids, their family, they watch what I do and they see, and they always like, Ross would have loved that. Or, Barron would have loved that. Barron be so proud of you. And that's like, I know that. And it's like, I just kind of feel like I'm taking a little bit of them with me. And it helps me through those times whenever I'm down and out, when I'm, coping with other things. Because I kind of got into a point in my life where I see passing as we all gonna die, we're all gonna pass, and I look at it as like it's another door. It's not an end. If life was only life from what we have, we wouldn't be here right now. You know what I mean? Because it would already be over. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's got to be something else,
right? Otherwise, because if space and time don't exist, then we don't exist, and we're not even here. That's the way it works, because this is a clap, but we're here every day, and it's just another preparation to another level is the way I look at it, another level. And I feel like whether it's in this form or in this kind of manifestation, I don't know all that, but like I know that it goes on, life goes on, and it goes on in a way to where maybe we take what we've learned here and we go into the next phase with a little bit, or maybe we get demoted, and we got to go back to kindergarten or something, and that's also a motivating factor for me. And like how I am, I definitely always want to put out good vibes and good intentions. There's so many times I could, everybody gets presented with opportunities to do something that's not a positive, where you might get a quick win or a quick success. And I'd pass on them. I don't take them, because I know that quick that quick way don't get you where you want to really be.
Yeah.
You got to grind it out. There's no room for being shady or any of that kind of stuff in business and think you're going to come out on top, because it always will come back and bite you.
Always comes back around, doesn't it?
Yep.
What's the dumbest thing you've ever seen an amateur cook do in the kitchen? What's the biggest mistake they make?
There's a lot of mistakes.
I'm taking notes, by the way, for myself.
I try not to judge amateur cooks, and I really try not to judge chefs and people in general. One thing I would say is wear gloves. I mean, I can't stand when I'm looking at videos and stuff and people don't have gloves on and they're touching ready-to-eat products. And then they have jewelry on too. It's just like a double strike. That bothers me. I feel like people don't realize that like 35% of the people who watch that don't want to see your hands touching the even if it's microgreens. I know they think if they put microgreens, that still is cross-contamination, bro, and it's coming off your body. If we ain't learned nothing now from viruses and bacteria, I mean, you wear gloves. That's one thing, especially if you're cooking for Instagram and it's just an Instagram thing or a TV thing, nobody's going to eat it. Obviously, it doesn't matter. And that's where people follow that because they see Wolfgang Puck and these people doing that. And they're like, oh, well, I can do that. It's like nobody's eating that food they're cooking. Like, that's TV. Like, you're at somebody's house cooking their thing. You don't need to be holding their steak with your hand. You know what I mean? Like, so that bothers me. But and really the things that bother me is things that are food safety oriented, because it's been kicked into my brain since I was 15 years old. So it's like I really take that serious. That's why I have a professional kitchen, and I do things through Maricopa County Department of Health. I got a perfect A rating from them, and I don't have to. That costs me thousands of dollars every month to be legit like that. And most of my competitors don't do it. So, but I do it for my client.
Yeah,
and I do it for me.
You.
Right. It elevates, and it ensures that I'm doing everything I can and it comes back from experience, because I done seen what happens when people cut corners. I've done seen, like, people's like, oh, that would never happen until it happens. And then they're like, oh, I can't believe that happened. It's like, no, it's all in this literature right here. And everybody knows this is possible, but you ignored it, so that's, food safety comes in.
Keep it clean.
Yeah. And then the other thing I don't know what bothers me with food. I don't know. It's not really a whole lot that I kind of feel like this. There's no rules in the kitchen except, food safety and don't cut yourself. Like, if you want to make lasagna and put pineapples in it or whatever, like, do that. That's fine. Be as creative as you want. I will say execute the dish. One thing that bothers me with chefs sometimes is they overcomplicate everything, and then they over-concern themselves with plating, and they over-concern themselves with technique and being different, and then they undercook the chicken. You know what I mean? It's like
they lose the base of what was.
They do the one thing you can't do wrong, and then they spend 4 hours on, and it's not their fault. It's Food Network. Everything's based off of visuals. People don't realize Food Network had to worry about visuals because you can't eat your TV. You know what I mean? It's the reason why everything on there looks so pretty. But if you just go there and take a bite of it, you'd probably be like, what? So appearance is always important, but I think people focus a little bit on being too cute. Too cute. It's some stuff that, like, whenever I was into restaurants, we would get the new guy out of culinary school, and he would go over there and he'd be like, I'm making this sauce. And we'd be like, this dude ain't going to last. You know what I mean? He's like, he can't break down a chicken. He can't do this. Like, he's slow as on all of this stuff, and he's the only thing he's worried about. But nowadays, again, with the advent of all the phone and technology, that dude could probably succeed because he could find his 500 people, and he could go do the sauce for 4 hours and all of that, and he could probably make it. When I was coming up, it wasn't like that. You worked in the restaurants. It wasn't you worked in country club, restaurant, banquet hall, something, and you had to produce. And I think that we lose something with that. Other than that, I don't really pay attention to what other chefs do. There's a lot of talented chefs here in the Valley. And
is it a congested space?
I don't know. Like, I don't.
I mean, you're as busy as you need to be, and you're referring so much business.
1,500 last year.
Whether it's congested or not doesn't really matter to you.
I see more. I think I see more chefs. I think so, but there's been a lot come and go. Like, the chefs that were here 2.5 years ago, for the most part, aren't the same chefs that are out right now. I've seen so many of them just come and go. They don't. A few of them are really doing it, and they're doing good. And but most, it's one of those deals where they get in for a little while and they realize it's probably not what they want to do, and then they kind of come out of it. It's a hard thing to do, man. People, I make it look easy, and I make it look fun. It's all fun and games, and it's all that, and it's really not. There's a lot of. I got a good support team. I got a good staff. I learned how to hire people. There we go. Another thing that I learned from all my years in restaurants and being an executive chef. I can tell. I don't need to talk to somebody and see their resume. I can just tell by how they walk out their car whether I want them to be on my team or not. You know what I mean? I can just tell how they say hey to somebody. And you know that, like, you learn something from experience. And like food, we used to play a game when I was in the restaurants, is when somebody would come in, we would guess what they were going to order. You know what I mean? I'd say, all right, so she's going to get the ahi tuna stack, and he's going to get, the filet bites or whatever, and well done. And I could just tell. And like, here comes the ticket. And like 90% of the time I'd be right because of that experience. And I feel like that helped me get a good team. That good team helps support me in what I do. And that's
it's invaluable, even for your team, to listen to you, because they know you've been down that road. So when you say something, it's like it's like the army commander. I'm going to follow him because he's been in 7 battles and this is my first one.
Yep. And they know I don't get nervous no matter what's happening. Like, I've had multiple times where my servers and staff come up and they're like, how did you not freak out? And I'm like, it wasn't nothing. And they're like, I would have lost it. And I'm like, no, we don't. Like, it wasn't even
been there, done that.
Yeah,
right?
It wasn't even a thought.
Been there, done that.
Maybe at 18, but you learn so much, man. And like, I did have a pretty substantial career in the restaurants, which prepared me for a lot. But I still learn stuff every day, though. Yeah. I mean, to be real, constantly. Because I'm doing this, and I think that's one reason why I did seafood restaurants. I did fast food. I did corporate America, like your Longhorn Steakhouses. I went into fine dining, did that for 5 years. I did country clubs. I did every aspect, banquets, every aspect of culinary and food and beverage that I could really possibly do. And I feel like that's what I loved about that, is because I wanted to learn. That's really what my passion is, probably learning. My passion's learning, people, and food. And those, and probably the order changes depending on what day it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things that keeps me going and kept me from burning out, is I wanted to learn more than I wanted to quit. And that was like, that's really where I feel the value. And I think that's because I value knowledge more than I do currency and anything else.
Well, that's what's got you where you're at now and where you're going.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
I am too. I can't wait to see what comes for you. I like to ask, so I'll ask you, I know you're close with your mom.
Yep.
If this was the last thing she heard you say, what would you tell her?
I love her. No, that's pretty much it.
And I can tell she knows.
Oh, yeah.
That.
Yeah, I'm definitely a mama's boy. I call my mom at least 5 times a week. We talk a lot. I try to get back to South Carolina at least 3 times a year, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, obviously.
Sure.
But even after the fact, she guided me through so much, man. She's the rock of my family. And I was always surrounded by really powerful, really strong women. And I feel like that's also reflects in who I am and how I'm comfortable in certain situations, is because I had my dad. He taught me the tough stuff, and my mom and my aunt and my grandma and them, they taught me the way to be a gentleman, and what's important in life. And
a few cooking techniques.
Quite a few. I'm still number 3 in the family rankings. I'm like, I can't crack that top 3, man. But no, it's all fun. Yeah, they taught me so much, and I definitely got my love for food from them. Love for hanging out.
Well, I appreciate talking to you. You're an inspiration. You're doing awesome things in the Valley, probably nationwide.
Yep.
Look forward to talking to you again.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Can't wait to see what comes of your life and career.
Thank you so much.
All right, dude.
Bye.
Chef Will Turner.
Before we cut, 1 second.
Okay.
You got to try the pizza.
Okay.
You're a chef.
Wait, you have to. Are you blocking the? So we don't want to give any bad press to whoever made this.
Which one would you like? Is this one?
Okay.
You said pepperoni.
How in the world did you know that I was going to?
Charles?
We're good research. No, I'm good for now. I don't want to see the real pro tell me.
And then make sure you look in that camera and then say your business and your app and all that stuff.
Okay. You want me to do that now?
You can go ahead and do that as you're eating.
Okay.
Just give a rating and tell people how they can find you.
Okay. Scottsdale's private chef, Chef William Turner. You can find me at chefwilliamturner.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Chef Will Turner. We're going to give this a shot. It's got a lot of butter in it. You know, if I just got home from like 3 parties, this would do it.
2 a.m.
Yeah, this would do it. But
A beer need probably to wash it down.
yeah. If I got a family in town I'm trying to impress, maybe not. But it's not. I mean, it's serviceable. It's doing
serviceable. I love that. That's serviceable
that's
food
chef
right
talk.
there.
We, you know, most nights I eat PB&Js and Taco Bell. So like, this is you know, it's doable.
It's in
It'd
the
be good
realm.
for a game day type at the, you know, out watching the Cardinals. If this was out there, I'd eat it.
There you go.
What would you rate it? Give it no rookie numbers. 1 through 10.
Probably a 3.
Yeah, serviceable feels like a 3. Awesome. All right, all. Hey, goodbye, everybody. Acrylic Financial Incorporated is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by those on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of Acrylic Financial. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and unless otherwise stated are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance, and some guests may have been paid a fee to be interviewed for this show.